pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. The secretary perform roll call attendance, please. Here.
Here.
I'm here.
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 Here. Okay. All the board members have received the minutes from the secretary for November 15th. Is there any discussion regarding the minutes? If not, I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes as written.
Second.
Okay, motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right. Okay. First item on the agenda this evening is adjourned public hearing for Myers Run LLC subdivision. At the request of the applicant, he's requesting to be adjourned to January 19th, 2020. I guess entertain a motion to adjourn the public hearing out
So
to
made.
January 19th.
Bruce, we gotta open it, and then we'll
We still have to open it?
See if there's anybody here that,
want to speak on it. And
All right, so we entertain a motion to open the adjourned public hearing.
So move.
Okay,
Second.
second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Need a motion to adjourn to January the 19th, 2020?
So move.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, so that is done. All right. Okay, our next item on the agenda is adjourned public hearing for Price ground-mounted 6 solar panel addition. Entertain a motion to reopen the
So
adjourned
moved.
public hearing.
Second.
Motion's made, seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Is the applicant here for Price? Okay. Why don't you step on up? Good evening. Yeah, I guess your consultant's not here tonight?
She was supposed to be. You got me.
That's two in a row.
Okay.
Two in a row.
Yeah. All right, well, after the meeting, we did speak with her, and she did resubmit plans to address the issues that were at hand. Staff has looked at it, and they've produced a resolution. I don't know if you've gotten a copy of the resolution?
No, nothing.
Okay.
Bruce, I would like to make one amendment, which is that at the time, I was under the impression that the public hearing had been closed on November 15th. So I will
Yeah.
amend the resolution to include today's date as the closing of the public
As the
hearing.
closing, yeah, because I was under the same assumption that we did close it.
Yeah, I thought so, but
But we didn't because there was the open-ended issue with the information that had to be put on the plan.
whether or not it was appropriate or not, that makes sense. Okay.
Okay, so at least we know there's one correction that needs to be made. All right,
we don't need the consultant.
the question comes in is, should we go ahead and vote on this, or should we wait for their consultant to, whether or not they had any issues with it? I mean,
It's-
there's really
it's pretty
nothing,
bare
there's nothing out
bones.
of the ordinary here.
No, yeah, it's
And
very
it's basically
minimal.
granting the approval for what you're applying for.
Yep.
I don't see a
So-
problem with that.
I think we should go ahead and vote on it.
Yeah.
You know, it's up to you. I'll leave it up to you if you want to
Go
go
for
ahead
it.
and. All right.
Good answer.
Okay, so basically, all right, I'll entertain a motion to grant approval for the Price ground-mounted
I'll
solar.
make that motion.
Second that.
Okay, motion's made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Showing none, motion carries. Okay, so you're all set. You got the approval. Let let the solar company know they can follow up now and apply for the permit to go ahead with that addition.
Okay, thank you.
Okay? All right. Pretty straightforward. All right. All right. So that's pretty much all put to bed at this point. All right, so our next item on the agenda this evening is discussion regarding Downy Energy liquid propane storage.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. My name is Dennis Lynch. For the applicant. The applicant is present tonight. Many months ago, or weeks ago, we were here before the board. We heard a lot of concerns the board had. We heard from some of your professionals. What we did is we went back and dramatically looked at this particular project. We've come up with a project design that is a mounded type of a project where the tanks in question will be mounded with dirt. We have expert reports we provided. I know it's your first time you're seeing this. I know your consultants will need time to take a look at it. What we'd like to do very simply is answer any immediate questions you have. And if you don't have any immediate questions, we would wait until we hear from your experts. I mentioned to council in an email, and I mentioned before, that we have no problem if you want to select a truly independent and professional outside person to look at this. If your consultants believe that they don't have that expertise, we would certainly work with your consultants. I'll speak with council, and you know, if you do want somebody, we certainly would work with you to accomplish that. I know there was some discussion last time by the board about that. So unless there's specific questions tonight, we think we've got a project that addresses all the concerns, and we'd like to have you look at it carefully. We'd like to come back on the 19th for a public hearing if possible. In the meantime, we look forward to hearing from your consultants. And again, any questions tonight, we welcome them. Otherwise, we'll await your comments from your professionals. We'll respond to them appropriately and come back before your board at a time that everybody feels we're ready to move forward further.
Well, I think at this point, we're still looking for a consultant. We've reached out to a couple of people, one of which has answered back that he's currently unable to take on this at this time. The other person we had contacted is still hasn't gotten back to us. So we are looking for somebody. Before we go ahead and reschedule for something, I would prefer to have the report you know, from somebody, you know, on what's being proposed, you know, so that we have a little more information to work from before we schedule another public hearing.
Well, I'm assuming that your current professionals don't have or won't have any comments, because if they do, we would welcome those comments.
Right, well, we haven't done that, they haven't done any review. We've been looking for somebody that's, you know, again, that's independent of, you know, the propane industry. Somebody that's got knowledge of it, because it's a combination of, you know, somebody that's knowledgeable with propane or hazardous materials, and at the same time can interact with the fire department to address their, you know, their concerns. Because again, I think the fire department, you know, at this point still has that letter on file with us.
And that letter is what, please, Mr. Chairman?
The letter that you know, addressing that they don't have the ability to handle some certain, this type of facility to be brought into the town.
Mr. Chairman, I'm a little bit concerned to hear that right now. I know there's a record being made. First of all, no one has looked, to my knowledge, no one has looked at it professionally to see what we've put forward now. So, I mean, that's the first concern, is that, you know, addressing somebody else's concern about a prior project. We understand we have to meet health, safety, and welfare needs.
Right.
But we also just can't wait forever. May I ask the chair how long you've been looking for an expert?
Since the last meeting, since, you know, again, I personally can't dedicate my time. I have a full-time job, and I have other responsibilities.
Mr. Chairman, I'm not
You know,
asking that.
again, you know, so it's not me. my staff has looked into it, they've reached out, our
We're
staff.
reaching out to people. I
Yeah.
mean,
Okay, could I just ask if you would, we have an engineer who's given a report, Ted's report, if you've seen that at all. I could ask, maybe you could reach out to Ted. I mean, just having a propane person, I think you really need to have an engineer who's in the industry, who knows the industry. I think that's important. Other comments from other people, I mean, you have people that are the firematic people, those are all comments that we certainly welcome and want to address, but we want to move this application forward in appropriate speed. And if, I don't recall what was the last time we were here? October. So I mean, if it's October, November, and now December has passed without,
Right.
if you say, Mr. Chairman, you've been looking for an expert, you haven't found one, we're just concerned the project may be delayed. May I suggest, with your permission, we can look at experts that are in this particular field, not just firematics, but those who are experienced with really the engineering aspects of propane. We can suggest to you, the board, or your consultants, but we don't want to just put this project on hold, because if after 3 months you haven't found somebody, I'm not very comfortable you'll find somebody in the next 3 months. That's my concern.
No, I understand. I mean, we've had a lot going on too. I mean, this board, we've had a lot of other projects that have come up that have, that have had to address,
I don't
take up a
doubt
lot
that.
of our time, and a lot of the staff's time to have to deal with.
I don't doubt that at all. And no
correct.
one's asking for your valuable time, Mr. Chairman. We're just saying that
We're-
you have consultants and you can get a professional.
So, to the offer, I think if they submit a list of people,
Yeah.
again, we can, we can.
Pick
we
them
can-
or not pick them, right?
Right, pick them, we can look at them,
Fine.
we can contact somebody, I mean, we can use that, and, I think that's a
We
fair
could,
offer.
I mean, we could do that. And again,
Because-
we could still go our avenue of
Yeah,
looking
no,
for,
no, certainly.
somebody, again, we don't want somebody that's just, that's coming from the propane industry,
Well,
because
Mr. Chairman, you're
again,
gonna
it's
have
just,
to have
it's, right,
somebody.
because they're an advocate for the propane industry, and they're not looking at it objectively. That's what I'm trying to say.
Mr.
I'm
Chairman,
looking to find, we're looking to see, at least the board wants to find, because again, I'm only one person on this board. But the board would like to see is somebody that's gonna be objective in what they're looking at, and
Mr.
addressing the,
Chairman, I mean, under the circumstances, it may not just be one person.
right,
Of course.
I mean,
Right.
potentially, we
Could
could
be-
have two experts.
Absolutely.
Somebody who's, expert in the firematics
Yeah.
and, operations issues, whereas somebody else could be, with respect to the design and, that type of issue. So
Right.
I don't think we're wedded to just one. I think, and that might also broaden the scope.
I accept that as something that we embrace too. I mean, you may have a need for more than one person. I would just, ask, Mr. Chairman, I've been here before, okay, and I respect the fact that you are heavily involved in firematics, and I respect that as your service. But I also would like to make sure that we're on a level playing field here ourselves, and I'm not prejudging anything. But, Mr. Haran, I think, said it best, that some of these issues are engineering issues, and you need an engineer to take a look at those issues. So, look, I don't want to take your time.
I agree. A fire protection engineer is probably the best person to review this. That's,
I'm not too sure about that. I think somebody that knows everything about all the issues, firematic, design of propane, safety standards. But look, I'm not here to take your time. I'll give Mr. Haran some names of people that I think are well-known, experts in the area. I welcome the comments you have. With your permission, we'll come back on the 19th. I'm not asking for a public hearing to be set for the 19th, because I know you need time to look at these issues. But we'd like to go with all deliberate speed, understanding your concerns about public safety issues.
okay.
do we
I will
want
come-
to, do we want to talk about the one issue that we were speaking about earlier about, the leakage and, vapor?
Well, that's, yeah, I mean, that's one of the issues. I mean, the biggest issue, I mean, the mounding is of the, takes away the levee issue. But it still doesn't take away the issue of the vapor, because, that was Mr. Silvestri's other comment that he had within that, within, the document that he had submitted to the board. So if there's a vapor leak, we have that's the other issue that needs to get addressed, because, to access these tanks, you're gonna have to access it through a vapor cloud due to
Mr.
elevation.
Chairman, if you, I don't mean tonight, if you
Right.
just give us the issues you have,
Yep,
let us look at them, we'll bring them back to our experts. You may have additional issues that come up. We just want to have a record that supports health, safety, and welfare. And if we don't, then obviously you're going to deny it. And if
Right.
we do, I would ask you to, in your objective capacity, if we have the evidence there, to support the application. But let's not take more of your time. I know it's the holiday season. Mr. Moran and I will exchange letters or emails. We'll make some proposals, and if our expert here might have anything he wants to email me on some of those issues, I welcome them all. I welcome them all. I'll be the conduit to give it to our experts.
okay, all right, we will, as I said, we'll wait, and we'll wait to see what gets submitted, and we'll
No
go
problem.
from there.
Can I assume we'll be back on the 19th just for calendar purposes, your next meeting?
We could hold this, go, let me,
I feel our local firefighters should have as much, their word should carry as much weight as any of these professionals, because they would be the ones taking care of an issue at one of these things. So I'd like to have them heavily involved in this.
I agree with
And I
that.
have no objection to that. You don't hear me saying, no, I just said
Right.
firematic issues are important. But I don't think you can expect me as a lawyer to comment on engineering issues which I have no knowledge about. But
Right.
let's not prejudge who can say what. I mean, we welcome all the comments, we welcome your local volunteers and those people that are dedicating their lives to health and safety. And we have no objection to the facts being brought forward, and we'll address those. And if we don't address those, then obviously I know we're not going to get approval. But I think if you look at what the engineering is so far, and I'm very impressed with what's been done. And by the way, engineers put things in reports so you can tear them apart. I know Mr. Moran's a very good attorney. He could tear apart a phony report in 3 seconds, right? And I could do the reverse. But, we just want to make sure the facts are there, we address them, we welcome all firematic. We just ask the comments be given to us, not gone some other way, so that when we get them, we can go back before your board and say, okay, these are 5 firematic comments, we'd like to address those. Or, of course, at a public hearing, we'll address what comes up to them. The quicker we get the comments, the quicker we can respond. That's all we ask.
Okay, well, like I said, if everybody's in agreement, we'll put them on for the January, we'll hold a spot in the January meeting for discussion.
Right, not for a public hearing.
Right, not for a public hearing, because again, we need, whatever the scope of the whole project is, before we get any, before we go to a public hearing, we want to have as many of the facts put together and as much information put together and put out to the public before we even go anywhere. Because that's, because we don't want to put out half the information and then have to, keep adjourning and adjourning because you're going to keep submitting information. We want it as full, or, again, if it's full or not as full, if it's, if it can't be met, it can't be met, so.
Every document we have filed is a public record. The public's invited to see it. If you want us to distribute it to somebody particularly, if you want us to give it to Mr. Silvestri or your fire,
Yeah.
the chief here, we'll do that too.
Yeah, and also too, as per the, when you're looking, if you're gonna submit some names for engineers, what you have submitted with today's documents that were submitted.
I don't think we
I
submitted
believe
today,
it's,
but
I
before
believe the
you-
engineer, there's a letter in there, he stamped it with a Florida license. According to New York State education law, if you're submitting information to a public body, they have to submit that with a New York State licensed engineer stamp on it.
If that's one of the comments, we thank you for the comment, and
Yeah.
we'll address those in a responsive document.
Okay, so that's
Any other
just
questions?
something-
We're happy to answer them.
Okay. Does anybody have anything? No? Okay, so let's,
Thank you for your
so
time.
we'll see you on the 19th of January.
Thank you for your time, and happy holidays, to everybody here.
Okay, thank you. All right. Seeing, huh? Yeah. If we're, okay, so if we have no other, it's not a public hearing, but I will give you a little latitude, being former town supervisor, wish to come up and address the board.
Sure, and it's regarding the topic that you're discussing right now with the concern over the issue that you're struggling to figure out. And it's kind of like a chicken and egg thing. This is a type 1 action, it's a coordinated action. The town board is considering a rezone, and the applicant has a site-specific project, and you're kind of been given lemons, and someone said, now make lemonade, and you're not making lemonade. So my concern, engineering issues aside, you could probably find the right consultants to certify a plan. The concern is the zoning aspect, which, you know, now that you're lead agency on this, you're going to weigh in. Right now, since 1962, since the beginning of our zoning, this use has never been authorized under the town law. This is be the first time with this text amendment that it'll be allowed into the highway business zone and to the airport industry zone. On top of what you have to consider for this site plan, there's the larger aspect that has to still be studied, the impacts, the AI district out in the airport. And I know you're a firefighter, Bruce, and Mr. Chairman. And water is not going to fight propane, right? It's going to require a lot more equipment. I understand the limitations of using the fire department. It's a volunteer fire district with good resources. But this issue, there's a reason since 1962 this was never authorized. A town of our size and our density, we're the second largest town and probably the most densely populated town. To put this type of facility anywhere in the town without the ability to combat the fire, God forbid the explosion or the impact to the aquifer, these are matters of zoning and town board, and it's been kind of kicked in your bucket. You've taken the lead, and you know, I went to the town board meeting last month, and I raised some concerns for the town board about some of the zoning changes that are coming forward. And this one in particular is very concerning because it does have a large impact to the town. You know, these gentlemen have a right to get an answer, and us trying to struggle through their site plan doesn't mean at the end of the day the town board's going to pass the zoning law. The town board really needs to send a signal. We got a chicken and egg thing here, and you're caught in a bind. And I came in, and I was assuming you guys were kind of talking about the issue when we walked in before, but to give them this project a negative deck flies in the face of seeker. You know, they're contemplating more than 25 acres of rezoning. That coordinated review, it's a huge review. And they're only looking at it from their point of view. And I understand that that's what they're aimed to do. So I don't think we have all the information in front of us to make a decision. And it really needs to get kicked back to the town board or kill it. Because this is not, if you guys can't fight the fire, the county can't, you know, bad things happen, right? One of the largest risks, you were on the committee when we put the emergency services plan together.
Yeah.
One of the largest threats to the town, you look at the risks, was across the river, some of the chemical places, a dance camera could come across and pollute Chelsea, and that could be a threat. So if you have such issues, that impact alone cannot let this process go forward without deep exploration of positive deck, a deep involvement of the environmental impact, and then to the planning zoning issues, which you're kind of out of your, not that you're out of your scope, it's unfair that you're being saddled with it at this point. So
Agreed.
that's all I would say.
No, agreed.
More than
Listen,
agreed.
this is
And if
this
you
is a
need me to
very, this is
go
a
at the
very,
next
very
week's meeting,
difficult
Barbara, I'll be
situation.
there.
Yeah,
And,
I think you should.
Yeah, it's the board is in a, you know, in a very tight spot right now.
Well, you are,
We're-
it's kind of like, look at this and make a decision, but this is a legislative decision.
Yeah.
You know, our town zoning law, section 240-85, actually prohibits, for this very reason, this chicken and egg thing, if an application does not have the zoning, it's not supposed to even get to you. Now, I understand there's a coordinated review, this town board signaling they may want to change it, and they kicked it over to you. It's not unprecedented, but this is the reason our town is unique and has that law that says if it doesn't conform to the zoning, this application doesn't get to planning board because we're going to spin their wheels and your wheels, and really this should be dead on arrival. That's
So
my
this
2
shouldn't
cents.
even be
Agreed.
in our front of us right now.
No,
It shouldn't be, but the town board did make a referral. You
Right.
made you lead agency, which you should have said, no, thank you, you stayed lead agency. This is a zoning amendment, so.
So let's kick it back to them.
yeah, I agree.
Can we vote on that?
Yeah, can we kick it back to them? It is their issue, it's not really our issue.
Well, you already
I'll leave it,
circulated,
I'll leave
so-
it on council's
look at the
shoulders
issue.
at this point.
But, you know, we already did the circulations.
The law has to be
Yeah.
reintroduced.
Yeah.
The law is dead. It was
Yeah.
reintroduced, it was introduced 2 years ago. It was previous town board, Excel wasn't even on the town board. They scheduled a public hearing for the next town board. That bill died with the old government. New government's constituted. It was supposed to have a hearing in March of 2020. COVID happened, never happened. So if they want to do this, they have to reintroduce it, then let the public deal with them, and stop wasting their engineering time and their money back and forth for something that may not pass.
Yeah.
If I am, I said, it won't.
Okay, we appreciate your
Yeah.
Thank you.
comments, thank you. Okay, all right. So at this point, I guess we're really pretty much at the end of the agenda. If there's no other discussion for the evening, if nobody else has anything to bring up, then I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I just got a question.
Okay?
I mean, being that he brought all this up,
Mhm.
and we're all right here, you know, thinking about this,
Mhm.
isn't this a good time to try to discuss this a little bit? I mean, because I can see everybody here wants to talk about this situation that he just brought up.
There's nothing
Can we do that? Jim?
Well, the applicant's no longer present, one.
Yeah.
I understand that.
And, you know, so it was adjourned.
So do we want to, so when the
This
applicant
is
comes
just
in, is this
discussing-
something that we want to discuss? I mean, again, we can, you know, address the issues. I mean, it's something that we can have, you provide us some insight on, and we can
Yeah, I mean,
discuss it on
these are
the,
issues,
we can
you know,
discuss it
this
on
is
the
the first time
19th
these
with
issues have
them.
been raised.
Yeah,
You know, I mean, to the issue, I mean, you know, the first issue, and to Joe's point, you know, typically the town board defers most lead agency on coordinated actions to the planning board, because the planning board has a lot more expertise serving as lead agency in secret proceedings than the town board does. It's rare that, you know, the town board acts as lead agency for environmental review, just by nature of what the town board does. So, you know, that's the track record here in the town of Wappinger as far as, you know, secret review. And that's very common in most municipalities, where, you know, the planning board, since it deals with secret review, particularly when there's a site plan application for a particular site, you do the coordinated review, and you do it in one place rather than have, you know, I mean, that's the
right.
point.
But we're reviewing,
That's the point of type 1.
correct.
Um,
But we're also
so-
reviewing based upon one site as opposed to
Right, but it
all the
also,
potential sites within the zone areas, which I had brought up before.
which again, I mean, that's all part of the review.
Right.
So it's not limited to just this one site.
So what's stopping us from going right to a pause deck on this, just on public safety?
Yeah.
Just because of the,
So again, if we're.
just because
right.
of the grounds where it's at?
Because again, we're back to the same spot now that we're
Right, I mean-
we're only deemed the information based upon the one site as opposed to, you know, there may be half a dozen sites that qualify that would meet the current proposal, but we haven't been given any
Yeah.
information regarding those sites.
David
Right.
did a review
Some may
of
be,
those.
some may be deemed more suitable than others, based upon, you know, possibly topography or
And again, that's
distance
something-
or size of lot, but we're not looking at that. We're looking at a proposed project, because we've
Well,
been told
actually,
that,
no.
that's all our scope is.
No, it's not. I mean, and again, you know,
Well,
for
that's-
What is
purposes
it?
of,
Yeah, but is
Yeah.
It's
there,
the rezone and it's the site plan and the special permit. So we would be looking at seeker for all three of those items. And the rezone includes adding this use with the special permitting stipulations to this district.
Yeah, but
Now,
there's-
when this was introduced way back when, David Stolman did a preliminary review of how those special permit criteria might whittle down potential sites. I think there's 3 sites in the town where this could be proposed, and this is one of those 3. But we are still talking about a rezone for the entire district, and it would apply to those other 2 sites.
but even on top of that, there's still no fire district in this town that could handle
What is the
that.
criteria for determining, because if this met that criteria, what are the other 2?
There are a few things. It needs to have frontage on Route 9. It needs to have frontage on a secondary road. Of course, this site has frontage on Route 9, but not access off of Route 9.
Right,
So
what
that
is
is
frontage?
that's a problem.
Right.
That is clearly something that was not originally accounted for. Another one of them is size. Another one of them is, I can get you a list and circulate that.
Right.
Well, I'm just saying, if
Is that-
this passed,
yeah.
it's a horrible lot for this proposal.
Yeah.
What are the others?
I mean, they gotta look at the elevation, they gotta look at the evacuation, around it, what is it, like 1 mile? Or
Well,
think
the
it's
original,
whatever the hell
based
it is.
upon their previous plan and the
evacuation.
emergency response handbook
Yeah.
that the DOT puts out, that one there said 1.5 miles, based upon the quantity that was being stored on site. That was the evacuation.
If it's
zone.
All the
impossible to
information that you
evacuate
guys are-
that in a reasonable amount of time, then it should, that's a pause deck
All,
right
all
there.
the information that we're discussing right now that we would like to be seeing, is information that would result from a positive
Right.
declaration and an EIS. I mean, that's, again, if this is what you want to see, it makes more sense to pause deck it than it does to say, bring us in, you
Yeah.
know,
That's what I want to
Can I
see.
give you
Five
a
more
real live
technical
example,
reports.
Mr. Chairman? I don't mean to be so.
Go ahead.
Well, when I was executive director of the Bridge Authority, we had taken over the walkway over the Hudson. The state had given it to us, and it was just rehabbed. And in 2011, we were having Hurricane Irene and Hurricane Lee. If you remember, they were heading up the river. And they thought the potential wind gusts were going to hit over 80 miles to 90 miles per hour. At that point, the bridge had not been rehabbed properly at the footings. We didn't do it, the Parks Department did. And knowing we were in the process of doing our assessment, and we knew that the storm was coming. So we had to notify, believe it or not, the EMS of the state and even locally that, God forbid, if with sustaining winds, if they exceeded 100 miles per hour, the bridge at that point, not today, could have
Yeah.
but
Toppled over.
on the north side of it was 20 huge propane tanks that Central Hudson had as storage. So we had to, because of the zone, we had to notify surrounding areas. And one of the places we had to notify was Marist College. And I remember the very awkward call I had with the president of the college telling him that because of a bridge a mile or so south of him, we have to evacuate his campus. And he goes, why don't my security people know about it? Because it was never contemplated. And it's one of these things where you just don't know until you're, especially the evacuation zone. So a
Until it's too
town
late.
of our density, a mile circumference, you start to hit a lot of people. So I will be as funny as women now.
I have
Okay.
another question. If this, being that they made this change, isn't this like a whole new application now?
Well, again, to Joe's point, and I think we mentioned this previously, until the zoning is in place, really any site plan or special permit use, special permit application is really in some respects premature.
Right.
So
Well,
this
why are
is
we
really.
So what decision are we here to make?
Exactly.
We're talking about
entertaining-
a negative or
Talking about the
positive
seeker review.
on the
Just seeker review?
seeker.
Correct.
Well, I don't think that's a very difficult thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So back
My
to
other
the
question-
secret review and regarding the zoning change then. The data the information you're saying that the zones that are being proposed to be changed, that there is information on that, I don't remember seeing that in any of the information that was submitted to this board.
I think it was done many years ago. I don't know to
It
what
would
extent
probably
it
be
was done.
with the EAF for the local law.
Yeah.
Okay, because that, I don't remember seeing that. Again, and when I did bring up about the other areas, that it was, that we were only focusing on just the one site because that's all that we have in front of us. So if we're doing, if we're looking at the secra based upon all the zones then, or
Those
it's
two
more than
zones,
one
yeah.
zone, I believe.
It's the AI and the
What's
AT.
AI and GB?
Yeah, so if we're, then we should be
HB.
looking at the potential, on all these, potential lots. So if,
Yeah, that hasn't been
if
discussed.
David Stolman did do that review, and there is something there, I don't remember seeing that document. Otherwise, if I did, I probably would have remembered that. And I don't know if any other board members remember seeing that.
I don't know how extensive it was. I also don't know how out of date it
Yeah.
was at this point, right?
Right.
I don't know what changes have occurred within the town that might
Yeah.
modify those findings.
But to Malcolm's point, it was based on basically the lot size and.
Right.
Lot size and
Some of
access, yeah.
Some of the lots up in AI district are not that large.
My other
Yeah.
question, if the law that was introduced by the town board is now defunct,
Well, that's a question.
and they have to reintroduce it, does that mean that seeker then has to, I mean, the whole
Yes.
process is restarted?
Correct.
So we can't really make a seeker determination. The town board needs to reintroduce and then choose whether or not to ask us to serve as lead agency, which maybe they won't this time. So my question is, does it make
Well,
sense for us to pause or neg deck it if that decision carries no weight? and it
I'll
needs to be
send an
redone?
email to council for the applicant
Okay.
to say the issue has been raised, to let him weigh in on the issue, and we'll do some research.
Okay.
Because frankly, I
Well,
haven't
I
looked at
think-
the issue, and I don't want to opine.
Well,
on
we
it.
have the authority to do a
I think if we could get that
declaration, and we
resolved
should
prior
just-
to the
Yep.
19th, and then we can have a better idea of where we really are.
Yeah.
You know, in addition to, we'll continue looking for somebody. I'll work with Pete, if you don't mind, I'll get you to kind of, still, I mean, I know Jim's going to get a number of people, but, you know, you know, even if we can get a hold of, you know, of Dan, see if he's got anybody for us, or, you know, they said I'll make some, they'll reach out to some other people also, you know, outside of,
So we continue this with the next meeting with them again?
well, hopefully we'll have some answers before that meeting.
Hopefully we have some answers at the 19th.
We
Hopefully
just-
we have
Yeah.
an answer from the town board as to, you know, what procedure needs to be followed. Potentially, it goes away, it goes back to the town board, but we'll have answers by the 19th.
Yep. All right. Any other questions on this one? Anybody's got, so we can
So
put
our
out there?
local firemen will be involved in that also?
Yeah, we're gonna have to get them involved.
Right.
Yeah, we have to get the
It all
represent,
comes
we have to
down
get,
to them. I've-
so here's, this raises a larger question. Now that we're spreading this out, you know, again, now it's becoming more of a town-wide issue. And the town is being covered by, you know, by 3 different fire districts. I think that you know, the subject might have to be brought up with representatives from each of the 3 districts.
And
Only
have
because
them
we did get,
stay
you know,
this
again,
time.
based, site-specific, we have a letter from the district that covers, you know, this one particular one, but I think we need, you know, the other districts to weigh in on the, you know, on these issues also.
Well, I mean, I think the county should also weigh in too from a consolidated, you know, mutual aid type of issue as well.
Yeah, but again, it falls back to, you know, home rule, and the county doesn't have any authority other than drafting a mutual aid plan. They don't have, they
No, I
don't
know.
have
Just that
authority,
we're
they don't have
giving-
authority on operational issues. That's why I'm saying to,
Discussing something that's gonna require
yeah,
mutual
to
aid.
give it the 3.
Something of that magnitude, I
Right.
just don't understand why
To
we're
dis-
even
To
discussing.
discuss it amongst the 3 fire districts, I think, is the best option. Yeah, because it's gonna be more of an operational issue on their point.
I also think it's, as we get closer to the 19th, as we look for answers to the questions that we have, I think it's important to hone in on the questions that we don't have answers for yet, and whether or not those answers are best suited to technical information that the applicant brings you outside of a positive deck, or whether or not a positive deck makes more sense. Because, you know, if that is the route that you would like to go, I think that it is respectful to do it earlier as opposed to later.
I agree with
How
that.
does the comprehensive plan play into this?
As far as I know, the comprehensive plan doesn't
Doesn't even touch
foresee
that.
anything like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I don't think it even addresses this.
Yeah, just,
It was never legal. It doesn't address what wasn't there. This is-
Yeah.
Even though it's a text amendment.
Yeah.
I'm sure
All right, so, looks like, before the next meeting, it looks like staff has a little bit of work to do to get some of these items, you know, to get them ironed out before the next meeting.
Looks like Jim's got a lot to do.
so at the next meeting, is this be the time that we
Before
could
I walked
vote
in tonight.
positive or negative on a deck, or what?
Hmm?
Next meeting is when we would vote.
Well, no,
To write.
we'll have a discussion at that point and see where we are, but, the council's gonna have to look into a little bit of, some of these issues, because we might not even be in that position
They
anymore.
might just back off.
Yeah.
We might
So let's,
pass it
yeah.
off to the town board.
yep.
Yeah, I think we should handle it, not
Yeah.
pass it off.
So at this point, with all that said, if there's no other real new questions, then
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
I'll second that motion.
motion's made, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.